Hello YouTube, Dave here again. I'm back with another installment in my series of previous edition books that are useful for the current or updated or different editions outside of the one that they were initially published for. In the first video in this series, I took a look at the Neverwinter campaign setting, which I still think is an excellent book and something that people should definitely check out. Today, I'm going to be looking at a book that not only is great for the up-to-date edition for the system that it was designed for, but I think that this is a book that can honestly be used for just about any sort of fantasy type RPG. Today I'm going to be looking at the Pathfinder First Edition Ultimate Campaign book. Now this is the Pocket Edition, and the Pocket Editions are generally easier to come by than the hardcovers, especially since you can get a lot of these Pocket Editions brand new from stores versus a lot of the hardcovers being secondhand, and then you have to worry about, you know, how people treated the books beforehand. I'm a huge fan of the Pocket Edition books from Paizo and their Pathfinder stuff, and built up a pretty decent collection of these. And but I'm not here to talk about the Pocket Editions. I've already done that to death. Today I'm going to take a look at the Ultimate Campaign book. One last thing, if you do hear in the background, I am currently running an air conditioner. We just got one, and summers are really unbearable in our apartment building. We're on the sun-exposed side for the majority of the day, and we're on the top floor, so it gets really unlivable. So it is, you know, it might disrupt things a little bit in terms of the audio. Hopefully it won't be too bad. I have it on its lowest setting. But at this point, I would rather be comfortable than just dying of sweat while I'm trying to do these videos. So anyway, let's take a look at Pathfinder Ultimate Campaign and see sort of what's in here. So I'll flip through it a little bit and just sort of share my thoughts. But one of the best things about this book, I would say right off the bat, is that a lot of the information in here is honestly, it's sort of self-contained rule sets. So there's a lot of charts, there's a lot of suggestions or subsystems for building certain things. So we're going to be going through, like, chapter 1 is all about character backgrounds, chapter 2 is downtime activities, chapter 3 is campaign systems, which provides you things like exploration stuff, gradual alignment shifts. So there's a lot of things in here that you can include. And then the final chapter, chapter 4, is Kingdoms in War, and that's probably one of my favorite sections in this book. But all of those subsystems, or all of those elements that they provide you, generally the rules that they use or the guidelines that they use to create these things are kind of self-contained. And while a few elements may grant some minor bonuses, like +1 to certain skills, or +2, +3, even +4 for certain things, generally speaking, this stuff can be easily converted to your home campaigns. Or whatever RPG that you're running here. So again, chapter 1 is all about creating your character background, and it gives you a lot of stuff to go through, like conflict and behaviors, vulnerability, friends, associate, companions, and it even gives you some charts based off of your race and your class. So you can just do this whole randomly if you wanted to, because they give you things to roll for. So things like your homeland, your parents, if they're together, if one's deceased and the other's alive, if both of them are deceased. There's, again, all kinds of stuff in here, and this just makes for some great character building, because I know, like, when I first started, especially, and probably even today, I mean, if I'm going to be completely totally honest, I'm not the greatest at coming up with backstories. So something like this can be really useful. Things like, you know, major events, like crime, punishment, you know, academy training, being betrayed or bullied, you know, death in the family. There's just, again, a lot of great stuff in here. So this is something that, again, will come in really handy just for fleshing out and designing characters. You have them for the races, like I said, you have them for the classes. So some classes obviously won't translate over, like, you know, gunslinger. You may not have stuff like that in your campaign, but you can certainly just sort of ignore those things or use them as inspiration for other types of backgrounds or abilities. So again, just a lot of great stuff there. So we're just going to get through the background stuff. Alignment, like I said, this goes into quite a bit of details. It also gives you traits. Now, traits are something that I actually really like. These are things that you can sort of apply to your character that give you minor bonuses. Now, some of these may be incorporated into things like the design elements in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, for example, but I still think that these are really, really cool. For example, one of your basic traits that you can have if you're looking for combat stuff, you have Axe to Grind. So it says there's a fire in your heart and it can't be quenched. You gain a +1 trait bonus on damage rolls against foes who are threatened by only you. So just little stuff like that, honestly, can be really, really just, it helps sort of flesh things out or build things out. And I don't think any of those are particularly game breaking. Like I said, they're usually smaller bonuses of +1, +2. There's one that involves confirming critical, so you may want to, change that around. But again, I just love the concepts that we have in here. You even get into like social traits. So there was like magical traits, combat traits, social traits, racial traits that you can apply based on your character's race or ancestry. Story feats are also really cool because these are things that can give you bonuses, but they're sort of there's a goal. There's sort of an end game to having some of these. So we're just going to look at we'll just look at the accursed one. So we'll just sort of show how it works. So for accursed, it says you must carry a curse or be inflicted, you must carry a curse that can be lifted only by a quest or similar great undertaking, or have the cursed birth background, which was earlier there. The camera's zoomed in really close, but I am sitting really far back, so the text is kind of hard for me to read. Then we have the benefits. So you gain spell resistance equal to 3 plus your character level. So that's something that you may want to consider changing to maybe having like a bonus on saving throws versus spells, or something like the 5th edition D&D spell resistance, for example. They may just take half damage from spells, or you may reduce spell damage by a certain number. So there are ways to modify that for your current campaign. But it says you gain resistance equal to, looks like 5 plus your character level, as the curse interferes with all magic. Unlike most spell resistance, it can't voluntarily be lowered. So this is something that could apply to even beneficial spells that you might want to have cast on you, such as healing spells, for example. Though your own spells and magic items still automatically affect you, so that's not an issue there. The goal, your curse is lifted, or you are able to purge the corruption of your fiendish blood. The characteristics or circumstances either vary wildly based on the nature of the curse, and is up to the game master. And then completion benefits. So if you actually achieve your goal, there are certain benefits to it here. So this one says you lose the spell resistance described above. You gain spell resistance equal to 11 plus your character level, but only against harmful enchantment, necromancy, and transmutation spells and spell-like abilities. So again, you may have to tinker that just a little bit depending on the system that you're running. Your aura resists further attempts to curse you. Harmless spells automatically bypass spell resistance, whether you desire it or not. The spell resistance can be voluntarily lowered. So again, just the story concepts, even if you don't use the ones in this book, can be used as motivation for granting characters some minor bonuses, but have them tied to a specific aspect of their backstory, and use that to build a story around, so to build maybe an adventure or a quest around where they can resolve the goals that they have and gain a benefit from doing it. So again, just a really cool concept that I really enjoy and would like to start implementing into campaigns that I am running myself. So then we get into downtime activities. So this is just things that are in here, like building things, crafting things. I think there's even some information on creating a stronghold, which is something that used to be a major aspect of RPGs in the past, but sort of stopped being part of it for the last like 20 years. But yeah, there's just all kinds of stuff. You can create your own business. There's information on like building a business, what kind of people you would need to hire, the costs associated with it, their roles, the different, like I said, here you got the rooms that you can include. So again, just a ton of really great information. And again, this is stuff that can work for just about any RPG. So again, really useful stuff here, and just wonderful flavor to go through and read through. So again, just awesome stuff there. So like I said, this is another section that I actually really enjoy. And there are things that events and stuff like that can come up. So if you have a business, for example, someone may break into it, at night and steal stuff. So there's just all kinds of things for you to keep track of there. So again, cool stuff. Campaign system. So I love the idea of alignment meaning something in RPGs. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but in my current campaign that I'm running, some of the house rules, which is a pretty house rule heavy campaign, but it's sort of was meant to be sort of a short thing at first that's going to develop, I think, into a longer term thing. But I wanted alignment again to mean something. So certain classes require certain alignments, and shifting alignments can have detrimental effects. So with this system here that I really like is it gives you some guidelines if you use alignment or if you want alignment to be important for shifting alignments, which I think is great. There's bargaining, there's companion rules in here as well, advancing those companions. So again, just a lot of really great stuff in here. Information on contacts, how to negotiate with them, and just, again, all kinds of little events and stuff that can happen around those. Some stuff for exploration, which is another sort of oft neglected aspect, I think, of RPGs, or at least it can be. So you have things like hex crawling, how to create hex maps, putting hazards in there, honor points, just influence stuff. There's all kinds of really awesome things in here. Investing. This is something that I'm actually going to be probably implementing into my current campaign pretty much immediately, because in one of the last sessions that actually Bill from Roll Stats was running those particular sessions, but one of the things that the players did was actually investing in a business's future endeavors. So this will be a section that I will be looking at pretty much right away, and I can use some of these as some of the suggestions in here as a means of sort of helping that sort of go along and having complications come up that the player characters have to deal with. So again, just awesome stuff here. Now we're going to get to the next major system here, or the next major chapter, which is Kingdoms and War, something that comes up in a lot of RPGs. So this gives you all kinds of stuff for building kingdoms, what the terminology is, a system for actually designing them yourselves. This is something that, like, I'm not great at this sort of stuff, so this is something else that I want to be using in my games. So there's just, again, all kinds of great stuff here, including like just running one, like running a kingdom, which kind of reminds me of the old birthright system, actually, where you were all like lords, and you had land and property, and you were responsible for people beneath you. So again, this is something that I think would be a lot of fun to work with, and just rules or elements to help design kingdoms. It's just fantastic stuff. The different buildings that you can have, the different defenses that you can do. You use building points in order to do that. It gives you a certain amount of space that it takes up. Again, just awesome stuff here, and things that, again, can be completely used in other systems. So it's not reliant on Pathfinder. It's not reliant even on the D20 system necessarily for stuff like this. So that's great. And then we also have we have some like map stuff here. If you wanted to use these to create your own, you have the sheets for the kingdoms, and so you can track all their pertinent information. So again, so it's just such an awesome book. Like I really feel like I'm beating the dead horse by saying that, just repeating myself. But this is an absolutely awesome book here, and you even have optional rules like how to deal with abandoned buildings, holy sites, diplomatic issues. There's things on different forms of government that you can use, settlement sizes, leadership roles, and then we get into a mass combat system. So this is something that it always feels like like a major point in most campaigns is to have this awesome huge battle take place, but it's always difficult to actually run it and to actually do stuff with it. And Recently, the Explorer's Guide to Wildmont book sort of touched on the idea of using mass combat, but it didn't do anything with it other than just to tell the people running it to just have it turn out the way that you want it to. So I feel like something like this would be actually really useful with that book as well, so that you can use the guidelines in here to creating your armies. Looking at things like resources, at phases for for large scale battles. Again, just really awesome stuff here. Information on how to handle player characters in the battles. This is just, again, overall a very, very solid book. So if you're looking for some advice on campaign building, adventure building, settlement building, this book has you covered. And again, it's something that I feel sort of transcends just the Pathfinder system. And I would incorporate some of the guidelines in here into things like, obviously, Dungeons and Dragons, Dragon Age is something else that I would probably put it in here into, and even some of those subsystems can be useful for older like OSR stuff, like building kingdoms using a point system to create, to fill out your the nation, or not the nation, but the kingdom itself, the physical like city that it's in. So this is one that I highly recommend. This is one of the books that I was the most interested in getting when it came to the Pathfinder pocketbooks. And this is the one that I think I will get probably the most use out of, because of the fact that I can use it for pretty much all of the RPGs that I'm running. So really fantastic. And if you don't have this book already, I do highly recommend checking it out. Like I said, the Pocket Edition should still be relatively easy to come by, brand new. A lot of bookstores or game stores should still be able to order this in, and like I said, I can't recommend this stuff. So anyway, let me know in the comments below if you've used this book in your campaigns, and what are some of the kingdoms or systems that you've used out of it. What are your thoughts on the character creation background system? I can't say enough good stuff about this book, and I do think that this is something that easily fits in just about anyone's collection. So definitely check it out. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Take care.